everyone. Welcome to the third day of the Authortube Writing Conference 2024. Please let me know if you can hear and see me okay. I don't have it pulled up in my other tab because I didn't want any feedback or anything. So let me know if you can hear me. Again, welcome to the Authortube Writing Conference 2024. My name is Morgan Lee. Today, during this presentation, we are trying to answer the question, can you publish well for under $100? When I pitched this idea to the Authortube Writing Conference, it was a question that I wanted to answer for myself because, spoiler alert, I don't have a ton of money. And if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure that you don't either. So I wanted to tailor this presentation to those of you who maybe haven't published yet or haven't published very much. And if you're in this Authortube space, I'm sure we're all aware of the increased price tag that comes along with indie publishing because you're not just a writer anymore. You are the marketing team, you're the cover designer, you're the editor, or at least you're responsible for hiring all of these people in order to get your book into the hands of your readers. Every single aspect of that book is now in your hands when you choose the route of indie publishing. Now, that control is one of the selling points when people choose indie over traditional, but the price tag that comes along with it is not always ideal. So, can we publish a book for under $100 and do it well? Let's see. So, for those of you who don't know me, I wanted to introduce myself once I get the correct format of the layout. Okay. So, again, my name is Morgan Lee. I'm an indie author and freelance editor. I write in multiple genres, but mainly fantasy with a touch of darkness and horror. I also like to dabble in science fiction, and eventually I would like to leap into romance as well under a pen name. So far I have 2 books published under Morgan Lee. It's my debut dark fantasy trilogy. The 3rd book is available now for pre-order and will be released August 5th. And books 1 and 2 are in Kindle Unlimited. Okay, so what is this experiment? In this experiment, I will be trying to take the first book of my cozy fantasy anthology series from first draft to published book and do it all for under $100. Idea to published. So this presentation is geared toward first-time authors who are trying to publish their first story but don't have a ton of funds. For seasoned writers, you may find some of this information that you've already heard before, but I really hope that you can still get something out of this presentation. So in order to make this happen, I had to stick to the very strict budget of $100, and I wasn't really sure how to factor in the resources that I already had or subscription services that I was already paying for. So I just went really basic, really strict, and only used the things that were either free or low cost. So I didn't use my Scrivener to edit or anything like that. So originally, I had planned to have the entire book done at the time of this conference, but life being life, things didn't work out how I planned. So instead, I have completed the first 2 steps of my little 3-step process to getting this book done. So the first 2 steps were completing the story, and the second was the wrapper or the book cover that the story will come in, and everything else. So the promotion side of this experiment will be released on my channel in subsequent videos, but not during this conference, unfortunately. So I still hope that you'll be able to get something out of this. And then I also did want to mention, as you kind of think about yourself in this experiment, don't focus so much on the $100. The $100 was just a fun challenge for me. It seemed like a number that was both feasible and challenging. So you might have more or less to devote to your publishing or launch. When it comes to indie publishing, you either have one, both, or neither of these things to contribute to your author business. And those things are time and money. Quick caveat, this presentation is not a get rich quick or even a publish quick scheme. The truth of the matter still remains. You have to decide how much of your time and how much of your money that you can actually invest into your author career and into publishing your books. So with that in mind, I thought of 3 different writer archetypes that most authors, if not all authors, fit into. So the first is the jack of all trades. Now, the jack of all trades is an author who doesn't shy away from learning the how behind every single aspect of taking that book from idea to publication. I like to define this archetype as someone who may not have much or any financial resources at the moment to invest in their author business, but knows how to find the time. Notice I say find the time because we can all find time to carve out, as well as the passion to learn. And one benefit to being a jack of all trades is your increased knowledge and appreciation for every part of the editing process or the publishing process. The second type of writer is the barterer. Now, the barterer is similar to the jack of all trades by way of passion and for learning the aspects of publishing, but they might have more funds to contribute. This archetype is also very skilled at being an active part of their writing community in order to do things like exchange skills to cut costs and help their fellow writers in the process. So while one friend may be really good at editing, another friend may be skilled at graphic design and really like cover design. So what the barterer will do is exchange those services. So they edit for you, you do the cover for them, and vice versa. Everybody's happy, and you get your what you need for your book. So the barterer knows the importance of having a really strong writing community around them. And the last archetype is the master of none. Now, the master of none is a rare gem because the master of none doesn't have a lot of time and would rather invest money in order to get their book from idea to published. So while the jack of all trades has a lot of time, the master of none has the funds. And this author may devote most of their money into outsourcing multiple parts of the publishing process. Now, this doesn't mean that the master of none doesn't set aside time to devote to their craft or learn the ins and outs of publishing, only that due to this archetype's increased budget, they have a little bit more access to higher end resources. And one real benefit to being a master of none is more time to do what all of us love, which is write. And with that being said, there are also deficits when it comes to each of these archetypes. No one is better than the other. So the jack of all trades loses time while they're spending so much time devoting learning everything else. So they have less time to do the thing that they love. They have less time for writing because they're spending all this time learning everything. And the barterer may struggle with forming those beneficial relationships, and it runs the risk of getting transactional instead of having those beneficial and healthy relationships. So when you're approaching and trying to find your strong writer community, you have to be careful not to go into it thinking, I'm going to get something out of you, instead of like building those key like foundational relationships. And then for the master of none, if they're not careful, if they're not paying attention to their publishing process, they run the risk of investing too much money into the wrong parts of their author platform and not seeing that return on investment. An example of this, if you're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars for your developmental editor, and then $1,000 on your line editor, and then $1,000 on your proofreader, and that book is costing you like $5,000, even if you have the money, like you're never going to get that money back because you spent it in the wrong area. So that is some of the downfalls of each of these archetypes. But again, no one is better than the other. And as I often say, you have to find what works for you. And as we work through this experiment, I will be taking on the archetype of the jack of all trades and showing you what I have done so far and what I plan to do when I'm launching this book. All right, so just a quick overview of the goals that I have for this experiment. Very simple goals. So the first goal is to get a return on investment. So I want to break even. As you can see with all three of my goals, I split it up into good, better, and best. So good for ROI is just making that $100. Better is making a profit. And the best is to have my best month ever as far as book sales. And then moving on to the book sales goal, I correlated it with my ROI goal. So 50 books is good, 120 is better, 240 is best. And then my final goal for my entire experiment is to reach new readers and have reviews on this book. So 75, 125, and 200 are my goals for my readers, or my newsletter subscribers is how I'm counting that. And then how many reviews I get, 10, 15, or 25. And then just to remind you, the results of these goals and objectives are not going to be shared in this presentation because life and the book is not finished yet. So I don't have the data for this, but stay tuned, subscribe to my channel because I do plan on posting the results of this experiment. All right, so we talked a lot. We laid the foundation for what we are trying to accomplish. We're trying to publish our book for under $100. So what are the steps? First step is to write an amazing story. So how do we do that? So the story step includes things like first getting that first draft done, self-editing. I didn't even take a drink. Sorry, hold on. Self-editing, professional editing, revision, and proofreading, as well as beta readers, alpha readers, and critique partners. Excuse me. So my budget for this section of my experiment was $37. So Microsoft Word and Grammarly are both monthly subscription services. Like I said at the top, I didn't really know how I wanted to budget those things. So I ended up just doing what it costs for the month and using that in my budget. So Microsoft Word is $7 a month, but it's also free online if you just do the online version. And I don't like Google Docs, but that's an option for you. And Grammarly, I enjoy using Grammarly, and that is $30 a month, and I already pay for that. So yes, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this portion, but we'll see how much I actually say. There's a lot later. There's a couple of videos that I have that I want to share, and I just want to make sure I have enough time to do those. So let's go through this really quickly, or quickly as I can. So, there are so many free or low-cost options when it comes to writing programs. You don't have to have Scrivener. You don't have to have Plotter or Dabble or whatever new software comes out. There is nothing wrong with good old-fashioned pen and paper. I don't like Google Docs, but it's there. It's free. You can use that. There's nothing wrong with using Microsoft Word or just using whatever writing program comes on your computer already, if you have that. So if you have a MacBook and you have Pages, use that. And Another that I've just recently discovered during this experiment was Rezy. We'll talk more about Rezy later, but that is also an option when it comes to that. I don't want you to get caught up in the aesthetic of being a writer, an author, and think that you have to have all of these fancy programs. You really don't. Especially when you're starting out, just start very small, very simple, very basic. Okay, so those are the programs and the methods just to write your story on. The next part is you're starting to get into critique partners, beta readers, self-editing, revision, proofreading. You got to get that first draft to something that is good, that is sellable, that is enjoyable. And without the high cost editing fees that you would normally pay for your developmental line editing, copy editing, or proofreading, you're going to want to utilize that author community that you should be building, those writers, those friends, those like-minded people. You need to be using those resources that are around you. So for me, what I use instead of a developmental editor are my critique partners and alpha and beta readers. So you can find critique partners and alphas and betas in a lot of places. If you have a little bit more money to give to this step, you can get paid beta readers on Fiverr. You can check Goodreads forums. You can check Authortube, all the writing discords you're in. There are so many ways to find those readers to help you assess your book and get it to where it needs to be. And then for self-editing and revision, there was a presentation this year on self-editing that you can check out. And then I also did one last year of preparing for an editor where I gave free or low cost options there. So I don't want to dive into all of that here, but please, please feel free to check that out. I have last year's presentation, How to Know If Your Manuscript is a Dumpster Fire, linked in my description box below. So if you want to check that out after this for some more of those resources that you can use instead of the high price tag ones. Okay. And the best thing that you can do to get better at revision and self-editing and all of that is to improve your craft. That is number one. Writing is not just something that you just have talent. Like I'm just a talented writer. I was born this way. Some people, great, awesome. You have that natural talent. But if you don't do anything with it, if you don't get better, if you stay the same, you write the same way for your entire author career and you never grow, I don't know what to tell you. We have to improve our craft. And to do that, we need practice and we need study. So on the screen, I have I have a screen over here if you see me looking. But we have a lot. I've mentioned different ways that you can improve your craft. The first being writing flash fiction. So this is a little tidbit that I got from the lovely Laura Nettles in our little Authortube community. She writes a lot of flash. And also Barrett Laurie, when he was trying to get back into writing, he did a lot of flash fiction. And I think flash fiction is very helpful when you're wanting to improve your craft, wanting to practice, try new things, instead of thinking so long form. I'm a very long form person. I like my novel length stuff. So writing flash is a very good way in order to get the writing juices flowing and try new things. The next thing would be to write in different genres, tenses, and POVs. We all have our favorites, whether you like third person or first person, or past tense or present tense, second person, historical, fantasy, whatever. We all have our favorites. But I think it's so much fun to break out of what you usually do and write something else. So I think that that is one of the best ways to improve your craft. It doesn't even have to be for anybody else to see it, but my next step, or not step, but my next tip is to have others read your work often and enlisting the help of those CPs, betas, and alphas. So you have to get used to people critiquing your work. You have to get used to people not liking things. And you have to get used to taking that feedback and knowing how to digest it and make your story better. And then the final one is to study more, to read more craft books. I'm going to get on a soapbox a little bit here and say there are other craft books than Save the Cat. There are more craft books than Story Genius. There are more craft books than Romancing the Beat. There are so many craft books. You don't have to read the same ones that everybody else is reading. You don't have to stick to one. You're not married to that craft book. I just remember when I was younger, I've been writing since I was a kid. So I have fond memories of going to the library and checking out every single craft book in the library until I checked out them all. And I had to wait until they they got more craft books. So I can't recommend enough taking the time in order to improve your craft. None of this stuff is quick or easy or one-time thing. This is just constant flow of our writing careers. I feel like I'm taking too long on this part. I need to speed up. Okay, but seriously, read those craft books. And then I also have down here genre research. So get familiar with those expectations in your genre. Watch shows that are similar. It doesn't have to just be books. It can be any sort of creative media. So get really clear on what your readers would be expecting for that genre and just really do your research, study, and get better. Okay, so on the screen, I just have the other different types of editing, like I mentioned. So copy editing, proofreading, and then I also have a list there of free resources and paid resources. I think it's really important to learn exactly the rules of writing, like for proofreading or for the free resources over there. I have Reading the Chicago Manual of Style, because I think just knowing like how grammar works, even if it's not like your forte or anything, but just knowing different, knowing the information and knowing where it comes, like what the rules are and knowing when to break them and things like that. Getting ahead of myself. So for copy editing, I mentioned this in my presentation from last year, but a workaround for this I have is keeping a really detailed story Bible. So that helps significantly. I need to speed up. Okay. Now we're going to move on to, I just wanted to introduce you to my story that I'm crafting with this experiment. My main characters are Callum and Poppy. So Callum is a cynical librarian cursed with the spirit of a basilisk and a deadly gaze, whose only goal in life is to inherit the Opus Athenaeum, which is a famous library in this world, from his adopted father when he dies. And then Poppy, she is a bright ray of sunshine who wants a chance to reconnect with her mother's witchy heritage, get out from under the thumb of her half-brother, and be an active member of the Fellowship of the Oracle like their father. And the story is an attack is made on the library. Callum's father, Eldridge, is nearing the end of his life and is ready to pass on his legacy, but not to Callum, to Poppy. When his father goes missing, Callum has to work with the woman ruining his life in order to find Eldridge and keep the library safe. So that is what my story is about. And as I was going through my edits, I realized that I needed to learn a lot more about cozy fantasy. After coming from something so dark like my trilogy, it was really hard to hone in and kind of pull back the darkness and bring in the light, fluffy, cozy. So doing my genre research was really helpful for that. And I'm going to skip over this because I don't have enough time. But this was just a kind of a little walkthrough through my Notion for my story Bible. It's not really that exciting or that fancy. Tiffany has a better Notion. You can check out Tiffany's video, but we're going to skip through this. Okay. So we have now crafted an amazing story. Now what do? Our story is ready to go, but we have nothing to put it in. We don't have a cover. We don't have the interior formatted, so that is the next step. But how do we do that? Now we're talking about the wrapper. So that includes cover design, blurbs, taglines, ISBNs, interior formatting, and your distribution to retailers. My budget for this section was $57. And again, I kind of fudged just a little bit because with Mandy Lynn's cover design course, that is a monthly subscription. Well, it's not a monthly subscription, but I did monthly payments instead of paying it all in full. And then Photoshop is a monthly subscription, free Canva, and then I use Pixabay for the stock and photo images. So we've all heard we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but we all do it. Covers draw readers in. It can tell you what the genre is and really sell your book. They also say not to design your own book cover, but we're already breaking all the rules, so we're ignoring that part of this advice. Okay, and this slide here is just a note of everything that is included with this step in this section. So you've got your cover design, you've got formatting and interior design, and then you have your blurbs and taglines and your front matter and your back matter. I won't go through all of the things listed there on the screen, but that listed there are different ways that you can make, create, get. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but on the screen, there are different methods for you to use and also what you might need for that section. Okay, let's move on to what I did for the cover that I designed, which I will show you at the end of this. So the 4 things that I used was, number 1, Mandy Lynn's cover design course. And I did want to say that I am not affiliated or sponsored by any of these things that I'm mentioning today. I am just sharing my general experience, but I use Mandy Lynn's cover design course, and it teaches you how to design a book cover in Photoshop. Mandy Lynn is my cover designer for my trilogy. She did the second and third book, so check her out. I highly recommend her. I love working with her, and I really enjoyed the course. So some pros was that I felt that it was short and to the point, and I like that you get lifetime access after the course is done. Some cons was that I feel like I needed more details on the Photoshop side of how to actually use Photoshop. Not that she didn't do a good job of explaining it, but I wanted more in-depth detail of how to use certain things, why I was using certain things over other tools. And that kind of brings me into the Photoshop review or pros and cons. I love that it has so many different capabilities. It's a really solid program, and I felt like it gave me a higher quality cover with more possibilities. Cons, the large learning curve, and pricing and paying that every month is kind of annoying, but everything is monthly subscription now. And then for stock images, I know a lot of people use things like Shutterstock and deposit photos, but I use Pixabay, and I really like Pixabay. It's completely free. You can filter out AI generated images, and the licensing is super simple. I'm going to take you through a little walkthrough on my next slide. The only con to Pixabay is that there are a limited supply of images, and that's, but it's free. So I think the con is okay. Next is Canva. So Canva has Canva has both free and paid versions. So that is a pro. It is a lot simpler to use compared to Photoshop. But even with that, I feel there is still a medium-sized learning curve when it comes to Canva. Lost my mouse for a second. Hold on. And then I felt like it was a little basic. But I've seen people do some great stuff in Canva. So it could just be me not knowing how to do it, which is fair. So let us move on to my little walkthrough of Pixabay, if you're not familiar with Pixabay. All right, so Pixabay is pixabay.com. Stunning royalty-free images and royalty-free stock. They have videos, vectors, graphic, or GIFs, all of those things. What I wanted to show here is the licensing. So on their licensing page, they mention what you cannot do. So you can't sell a standalone image, and it has to be significantly edited. So not just using a filter, not just changing the colors or cropping it, if it's still mostly the same. And then I scrolled to the frequently asked questions. So for Pixabay, I wanted to know how much I needed to alter the image. You'll see on the cover I designed in a second, but I feel like it is not altered enough for my taste. But right there, it says that it can be used for book covers, and because you're using it as part of a bigger thing, and the person is not buying it for the image. And then I highlighted there the use of people from Canva. And it says that you have to contact the author or uploader of the image for that to get the photo release. On this page, I did want to show, I just did a simple search for a wooden chest. I don't know why. But you see there, it says like adult content safe search. There you can turn on the hide AI generated and the safe search. I'm going to pause this for just 1 second. Please, if you do not want to see certain images, please turn on the safe search. I cut it out of this video, but the first time when I was recording it, I typed in bare chest because I was thinking like romance covers, and I got some bare chests. So if you don't want to see boobs, turn on your safe search. Sorry. Okay. So I wanted to look at this image. So looking at this looks AI generated, right? So I was curious. I had my feature filter on. So then I looked at the uploader, and it says that they start with AI generated images and then edit it in Photoshop. So if you're not comfortable with that at all, I would be careful and maybe check that. If something looks AI generated and you're not sure, maybe check the author's uploader's note. And then maybe it'll say something like this one did. So, and then I just wanted to look at another picture. So this one has like a real person. It looks real. But I was interested to see like if it had anything on the uploader's page as far as like a photo release or anything or contact information. So I just wanted to check that out. I didn't see anything on their page, or I didn't look very hard, but on how to contact them if you wanted to give a photo release or get a photo release if you were going to use that. But I think if you cropped his head out and you wanted to use that for a romance cover, I think that would be totally fine. So that is my little walkthrough of Pixabay. Lost my mouse again. 1 second. Okay. Next screen, please. Okay, so, and then you have, what else do you have when you're looking at the wrapper of your book? What your book comes in. You got your titles, you got your blurbs, you got your taglines, and you got your ISBNs. So those things normally don't cost any money except for the ISBNs. So when you're trying to get a title, do your genre research, see what trends are popular in your genre. Title generators are fun. I also wanted to mention the presentation by Rachel Wright on the AWC. I'm sorry, excuse me, that was gross. Back in 2022, it was A Writer's Secret Weapon, Master the Art of Titling Your Story. And then for blurb writing, I often use the template in Save the Cat. I'll show you that when I share the blurb in a couple of slides. But titling, blurbs, taglines, while not fun, I think are pretty easy to do, like low cost. And then for ISBNs, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do this with the ISBN because I purchased the bundle from My Identifiers in the US for $295 way back when I was publishing book 1 of my trilogy. So I didn't know how to add that into this experiment and this expense. Right now I'm just publishing the ebook, so I didn't need an ISBN for that technically. But for this, I would recommend that you get the bundle because one ISBN is $125, which is kind of high for one. And then you can also use the free ISBNs on the publishing platform that you choose. But I do want to mention that if you use the free ISBN, that you can't take that ISBN off the platform. So the book with that ISBN has to stay there. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you would have to publish a second edition with a new ISBN if you were wanting to take it somewhere else. So I suggest getting that bundle, asking it for your birthday, asking it for Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, just for a gift. If someone wants to give you a gift, buy me 10 ISBNs. And then if you have a little bit more money for this section of your book and you don't want to do it yourself, I did want to mention some people that I either know personally or know have done good work. The first is Diverse Book Designs by Deidre. And the second would be Stone Ridge Books, owned by Mandy Lynn. She does cover design. She did she did the second and third book in my trilogy, and she had the hard task of trying to match the first cover that somebody else did. And I think she did a fantastic job. So I would recommend her if you have a little bit more money to spend in this area. Meblart, I've heard good things about. I haven't used them personally, but I've heard really good things about them as well. And then if you have, and then also Enchanted Ink Publishing, it is run by Natalia Lee, who is also an Authortuber. I've used them for formatting for book 1 of my trilogy for paperback formatting, and it was a lovely experience. I haven't used them for cover design, but that could be an option as well. I'm going to take a drink. Okay, so cover title reveal. I did a poll on my channel, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, trying to figure out the title for this first book in this cozy fantasy anthology series. I do want to say this is not the final cover. I like it, but I don't feel like it fits the genre after doing more genre research. It was just something that looked cool. I was trying things out with what I learned from the course. So, drum roll. This is the first book in my Cozy Fantasy Anthology series, and it is Library of Monsters and Magic, da-da-da, a Fellowship of the Oracle novel. And this is it. I don't dislike the cover, but I wanted something different for Cozy Fantasy. I wanted it to show that there's mystery, romance, and fantasy, and I don't feel like this fully encapsulates the vibe that I want the story to have. So feel free to be critical in the comments. I won't be upset. This is my first attempt at doing a cover design. So yay. Well, not my first attempt. This is my first attempt after learning how to do a cover design. I've attempted before. But this is it. But I still want to do a little bit more or maybe a whole different cover. Okay. 9 minutes until I need to get Q&A. Okay, so I also wanted to share the blurb that I wrote, and I used the template from Save the Cat Writes a Novel. So paragraph 1, setup, flawed hero, catalyst. Paragraph 2, break into 2, fun and games, or break into 2 and or fun and games. Paragraph 3, theme stated, midpoint hint, or all is lost hint, ending in a cliffhanger. Did I do as well? I don't know. So let me know. Cursed with the spirit of a basilisk, Callum has lived in the shadows and worked in the Library of the Forgotten, Opus Athenaeum, since he was 8 years old. All he's ever wanted was to inherit the library from his adopted father, Eldridge. When the Fellowship of the Oracle comes to do a surprise inspection of the state of the library, they deem Eldridge unfit, too old, to shoulder the great responsibility of its care. To Callum, his time has come, but Eldridge and the Fellowship have other plans. The intriguing and infuriating Poppy Clearwater is set to inherit the library. On the night of her announcement, Eldridge goes missing, and it's up to Callum to find him, with the help of the woman poised to take away everything he's ever wanted, until he finds something he wants more than his precious library. Poppy. Yeah, I don't know. That's the blurb that I came up with. That still might change. But I really like this template from Save the Cat. After having read Save the Cat and knowing what all the beats are, I think it's very helpful. I use this little template for all of my blurbs. If I don't know if they're the best blurbs ever, but you know, it's decent. So yeah, so that's some option that you can use for the blurb. There are blurb writers also on Fiverr. Again, if you have more money to devote to this part of the process, you can hire a blurb writer on Fiverr. I did that for book 2 actually, but I ended up changing it anyway. So I think in the future, for me personally, I'll just probably write all of my blurbs. All right, formatting and interior. So for all of my years of self-publishing and being in the self-publishing sphere, I've always heard that you should never ever format your book in Microsoft Word. And I've never understood why people say that. I never understood that advice. I formatted all of my books in Microsoft Word, and while it's kind of annoying to do, the layout when the book is printed, it looks fine. So, especially if you're going for something very simple and not very ornate and detailed. I don't have my book handy, or I would show you the thorns that Enchanted Ink Publishing put on my headers. But if you're doing something very simple, Microsoft Word is very easy. So very simple. Again, I only have 5 minutes before the Q&A, but Microsoft Word is fine, in my opinion. I'm going to show you a video of a walkthrough, but the Cinderella story is Rezy. It's free. It's very simple, very easy. I'm going to go into the video that shows that. It shows like the walkthrough. I might skip through the Microsoft Word part. And this video has voiceover, so. First thing you're going to want to do is change the page size. So if you go to File and then go to Page Setup, you should be able to adjust the inches for the page size so that it fits whatever your book size is. Okay, so yes, I am going to speed this up and give you the summary. It took me about 2.5 hours to format this book in Microsoft Word, and it was a lot more tedious than I remember ever doing. And it takes a long time, and it's just annoying. It's just an annoying process to do in Microsoft Word, but it's not impossible. So I do want to show Rezy, so I'll let this part play. The next little walkthrough I'm going to do is Rezy. So if you go to editor.rezy.com and you already have a profile, you can upload your manuscript there. So I just uploaded the file I was already working on, and you can see, if I click there, you can select print ready, PDF, or EPUB. You can do drop caps. You can you still hear the video? Please let me know. Style. They only have 3, but I feel like that's enough. So I selected my options and then waited for it to download. And once it downloaded, there is my lovely book file. And I didn't have to fight with margins or trial and error or do things over and over and over again. It was just very simple, very easy. And all of this took me like 15 minutes to do compared to the at least 2 hours that I was working on formatting the book in Microsoft Word. Okay. And then I wanted to show the EPUB file. So you can also download an EPUB file. I'm running out of time. EPUB. So I'm going to click download. And then there's my book in an EPUB file. So simple. So yes, it also does EPUB. So I thought Rezy was very simple. I have 1 minute to get through this last step. So last step is telling people about it, the promotion. Again, this part is not included. All the results are not included. I'm going to move myself so you can see that. All the results are not included in this presentation because it's still a work in progress, but this is what I plan to do. So social media, I'm going to do a long pre-order and pre-order giveaway. I'm going to really work on my newsletter. I'm going to use BookFunnel, and I'm going to have an art team. So this is just another overlay of my plan for the promotion of this book, because people don't know about it, then it's very hard to make your money back. It's hard to sell it if no one knows about it. So this is my plan. And then if you would like to contribute to the stats that will eventually come, I do have a Library of Monsters and Magic on pre-order, releasing February 10th, 2025. You can tune into my channel to see the results of this experiment. And then the conclusion, did I succeed? Not really. When you kind of factor in everything, but total was $104, which I think is a very good number. It's not ready to publish yet, but I have learned a lot, especially with cover design and marketing and editing. So because it's time for the Q&A, I will stop talking now. So if you would like to contribute to these statistics, you can pre-order the book in the description box below or in the chat. And I would like to say thank you so much for joining me at the Authortube Writing Conference. And I will stop talking and go to the chat for Q&A. What did I miss? Are there any cues? Okay, let me scroll. I haven't been paying attention to the chat this whole time, so I don't know if any cues have come through. Any? Scrolling. Nope, I don't see any. Still scrolling. There's a lot of comments. Oh, I see Q. Let's see. How do you find the variety using the free images on Pixabay? You have to get very specific with your words, and you have to try a lot of different things. So again, like, don't just type in bare chests. Like, you have to be a little more specific with what you type in, and it takes a while, I will say, to find the images that you want to use. I was searching forever for like library or something library-esque, and it took a while to get like that swirly staircase library looking thing. So yeah, I would just say be very specific in your wording. Does Pixabay have limits as to how many copies you can sell using their images, or attribution requirements or genres you can use them in? Like, could you use it for erotica covers, for example? I did not see any limits as far as how many copies you can sell using their images. And I don't think there was any attribution requirements. And then for genres, when I read through the content licensing, I didn't see any specifics about genres. The thing with like erotica covers, the only thing that I did see was if you're using someone's face where they can be recognizable, you have to go to the person who uploaded the image and see if they have a photo release for the model in the picture. So, and that was the only thing that I saw on there. Okay. I'm just scrolling. Thank you for the love on my cover. It'll look great in gloss. It will, because I love gloss. Too dark for cozy fantasy. I agree. Okay, got 5 minutes, so let's see. I'm not towards the bottom, so if you're telling me I missed a question, I'm not there yet. Yes, you can do it in Word, but just make sure you want to bang your head on the desk. True. Okay, scrolling for cues. Okay, found one. Any advice you'd give authors who are trying to find free sensitivity readers? For this, I don't think there is such a thing as free sensitivity readers, in my opinion, because sensitivity reading is very sensitive, right? You're asking somebody to do labor for you, right? I don't know how to accurately say this, but I think that sensitivity readers should be paid, all sensitivity readers. So I don't really have any advice to finding free sensitivity readers unless you are really close with this person and they don't mind doing this for you for free. But I just believe that you should pay sensitivity readers. So, yeah. Yes, I have Pexels too. But Pexels was more photos than anything else. Okay. Where did you go to research cover ideas? I went to Goodreads to look at all of the cozy fantasy titles. I went to Amazon in just the cozy fantasy genre and really just looking at what was popular in the cozy fantasy genre. What I really wanted to do was one of those like covers that have just like the different icons and stuff on it. But I couldn't figure out how to make it look good, so I just did one that I was able to do. Let me see. Okay, Sky asks, someone's slides. If we can get the slides as your photos hid part of them. Yes, I will share my slides. I'll put them in the description box. Yeah, and these weren't all the free and low cost resources. These were just the ones that I chose. I also wanted to put a guide together, just like a list of all the free and low cost resources that I'm working on. I will also probably add that to my description box coming up here sometime soon. Yeah. Okay, I got a minute. Did I miss any other questions? Let me know. But yeah, these were just the resources that I used. There were so many more that I wanted to try. So I think someone mentioned Calibre for like formatting and things. So yeah, there's so many options out there. To just Google, do your research. Don't think you have to spend a ton of money on this process. Don't think you have to do what everybody else is doing or read the same books or go the same route. So yeah, I hope you will stick around for my channel of my results. But yeah, that's all I got. I'm going to find the outro video and then I'm going to say goodbye and join you in another presentation. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your AWC. Thank you for hanging out with me and I will see you later.